Greetings, Brawniacs, and welcome to The Devil's Den, a podcast that focuses specifically on Leo Brawn, former homicide detective killed in line of duty turned demon hunter. I'm your host, Stitch Mainville, and with me is your co-host, the voice of Mr. Willie Topaz, Terry Briscoe. Now, Terry and I will be breaking down the episode of Leo Brawn as we're joined by cast members who will give us their perspective as well. But first, spoiler alert, we will be discussing the entire episode of LIMBO. So if you haven't yet listened, stop here, go back and listen to episode 10, and then come on back so we can continue. Okay, so now that you're all caught up, you may have some questions like, are demons botanists? Is Leo a superhero? And our most important question of all for this episode, whatever happened to the AMC Gremlin? All this and more on this episode of The Devil's Den. Hello, our conversation is just beginning, and right now we say hello to our co-host. Sitting in for Jason is Mr. Terry Briscoe. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, so this is what Jason would look like if he had hair.
And a little bit of melanin. So, hey, episode 9 had a lot going on, but like I said earlier, episode 10 is like insane, man.
Yeah, I mean, pound for pound, this might, even throughout things that happen later on, pound for pound, this might be the most action-packed episode there is.
Yeah, indeed. We have like 3 different stories going on at once, and it's just like insane.
Yep, and they all converge at the same time in different places, too, which we'll talk about.
And kind of leave you hanging a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, as always, we use this portion of the show to welcome some cast members. And on this episode, joining us, we have all newcomers, Robb Smith and Samantha. Is it DeSuze or DeSuze?
It's DeSuze.
How is it? I knew it. Okay. Hey, folks, it's great to have you join us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Robb, not only do I welcome you to the Devil's Den, but you are the voice of Officer Turtletaub in this episode. This is your first episode of Leo Brawn that you did, correct?
It is. Yeah, I kind of became a fan of Leo Brawn. In the VO community, everybody's, it's a pretty tight-knit community, and people talking about this great project they're a part of, and was like, and I listened to it, and I've done a lot of audio dramas and stuff like that on some other podcasts, and I was like, man, I need to be a part of this. So I kind of like reached out and like, hey, just in case, if you have those minor roles that you need, because it's not like, hey, you need to like replace somebody. It's just like, hey, I would just love to be some bit part in this if you have it. And Jason was like, yeah, come on. And so I loved this character. I thought it was a great way to get into
Officer Turtletaub. Yeah. Now, do you know what nationality Turtletaub is?
Well, I know what my background that I gave Officer Turtletaub is. So I don't know if that and Jason liked what the backstory I gave to Officer Turtletaub was that he was a transplant from New Orleans, that he was had to move because of Katrina, that he had been police. He just started the force basically down in that area, and him and his wife and kid, they ended up having to get relocated because of Katrina and all that stuff, even though he wanted to help and do all that he could. It was just he was down in that that Fourth Ward area and just wasn't able to keep going, so he came up to
I'll tell you, and that New Orleans kind of really comes out with this character. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't trying to dive into it like it was a Popeyes commercial or anything like that. I just wanted there to be a little history of it in the voice, and for him to, again, the backstory of him to have been a father and knowing how to deal with like domestic violence cases and things like that. That leans into me personally as a very empathetic person, so I thought I could bring that to the character.
Well, there's not a whole lot of Germans in New Orleans, and that's this character's background. That's what the nationality is. That bonus question, do you know what Turtletaub means when it's translated?
Yes, that is the Taub.
It's actually turtle dove.
Okay, yeah. No, that's really cool.
Now, Jason left a note about this character, about you specifically. He says, I really love the way Robb portrayed Officer Turtletaub. It has the right balance of nurturing and caring, but also toughness when the job needs to get done, especially when things escalate. Now, since Jason's not here, he left me a whole list of things to say throughout the show. So
keep you on track, buddy.
Yeah,
I'll keep you on track.
Hey, Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been doing voice work?
I started in radio when I was 15 years old. So I've been doing some form of voice work pretty much all my life. I was always the theater kid, the band kid, the chorus kid. And worked in radio, then worked in television. And when you work in those mediums, you end up doing a lot of voiceover just because it's part of your job. They don't care about the acting part of it, truthfully, at a radio station. They just need you to rip and read and hear your 17 commercials and get them done and all like that. And I just really wanted to be able to explore more of the acting side of it. So I love being up on stage and being able to dive into actually characters and do that character analysis and really bring something to a character to help bring it to life. So, but officially, I just passed 1 year doing VO full time. I started last February, and so I've been doing it solely as my gig.
Okay.
For about a year here. My first kind of dive into it official was at VO Atlanta. I just kind of like I need to get. I'm a people person. I like to get to know people and hang out and that type of stuff. And so I was like, well, this is the way I can find my community, find my tribe, and hopefully find some work. So,
are you going to be in Atlanta this year, Rob?
So here's the thing. I live in Augusta, Georgia, which is only 2.5 hours from Atlanta. Not that far. I don't know that I have the money to buy a ticket to actually officially go to VO Atlanta. But the bar at the hotel is open to the public. So I may be there to have beverages and reconnect with my friends that I've made over the past year. May miss out on the actual conference part of it. But I definitely have a lot of people that I want to go up there that are going, that I want to see, that I want to reconnect with, even if it's not in an official capacity. So I'm still trying to work on some things to maybe be there to actually enjoy the conference and take part in it and learn and to grow. But if nothing else, I'll be there to share a whiskey with somebody.
I'm new to this. I'm brand new to this. So like this, Leo Brawn is like the first thing I've ever done. I used to be a DJ. I used to do voice work for TV. I was I did the what was it? The traffic reporting. And you had to get in them windows every time a different news station went to you. You had to be ready to go. So I remember all that stuff. But as far as doing like this kind of stuff, well, I loved being in radio. I loved doing that kind of stuff, but I miss it. So podcasting was my next thing. That's how I got into podcasting. Speaking of which, Rob, you have a podcast, Chewing the Fat. What's that all about?
I do, yeah. I again, being in radio, and I was the victim of a reduction in force where they let 3,500 of us go in one day from radio, and the industry kind of changed back in like 2009. So I just tried to keep my foot into performing and to doing this type of stuff. And then come the shutdown, the great COVID, and as a person who has some anxiety and depression and deals with that stuff, I knew a lot of other people were dealing with that too. So I launched a podcast called Chewing the Fat. It's a Southern colloquialism for just having a conversation. And it's a mental health and positivity podcast. It is about everyday people that go through the same stuff. I mean, we talk about what you're doing and what your job is and this, that, and the things that you're excited about. But I asked the question, and then really this was the impetus of the podcast, was a quote from J.R.R. Tolkien in The Hobbit. Gandalf says when he's asked why the hobbits, why them, why it was like, I believe that it is the small deeds of everyday people that keep the darkness at bay, small acts of kindness and love. And that just really resonated with me. And so that's what caused me to want to start the podcast. And so I ask every guest, how do you keep the darkness at bay? Mm-hmm. Because the more we can talk about that stuff, the easier it is for all of us to get through it, And so that's what the podcast is about. And then we have some fun at the end, because again, I'm an old radio guy, so it's set up like a little radio show. And but yeah, I just posted my 100th episode. I had the promo guy, Joe Cipriani, on as my guest. Had a great conversation with him. And you think about people like Joe that are kind of at the pinnacle. I mean, he just got a Lifetime Achievement Award, the pinnacle of their career. But to hear how they deal with those down days, because everybody does. You're not alone. Everybody has those down days. And to hear how he works through it for him, or how my friend who now just works in IT at Penn State, how she goes through those down days, and to see that commonality and realize that, yeah, everybody goes through this, and it's not as scary. That depression can't rob you of that joy and tell you that you're alone, because it's flat out. You're like, you know what? I'm not alone. There are other people out there that are dealing with this too. If they can get through it, so can I. So that's
awesome. I'll be looking forward to checking that out. Now, Samantha, we welcome you to the Devil's Den.
Yeah.
You provide the voice of Beatrice Banks in this episode. What was your? Did you want that character? Was it assigned? I mean.
It was actually assigned to me. And I said, you know what? I'll do it. I will definitely do it. And I said, I'm out there. I'm going to go for it. And even though she's only in it for what? I think maybe 5 minutes or so. I just said, I'm going to just go for it. And that's what I did.
I don't hear a Southern accent on Samantha.
But you know what? I'm Southern. I really am. And believe it or not, every time I go to Atlanta, it's my home. It's my home. Georgia's my home. Hey, just the South is my home. But I gotta. It's so funny because as soon as I heard about this character, I just said, okay, I'm just going to go real deep within me, and the first thing I thought of was, oh, those real Southern nights. I had a boyfriend from the South, seriously, from Florida, and unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate, but he's married now.
Well, it's good he wasn't married then.
yeah, he wasn't married then.
Kind of boyfriend.
But we were together for a while, and it was a long distance relationship, but it was a great relationship. But I learned a lot about the South, and I was like, yeah, I was going to move from Boston, where I'm originally from, and I was going to move to Florida. That's that was the end all be all. So I have this, I don't want to call it a hang up, but I have this deep love for the South. So that's
Boston. Now I'm from New York. I remember.
Oh yeah, where are you from in New York? I live
Albany.
in New York now.
Yeah, we're right on the border
really?
of Massachusetts there. Agawam is our neighbor, Agawam, Massachusetts.
Oh yeah, Agawam.
Now, when I was in school, we had one of our classmates had a relative come up from Florida to visit with the Southern drawl, and I remember one of our classmates raised their hand. They're like, "Why do they talk so different from us?" And it was like, "Why do they talk so different from us?" Now, this is my teacher's honest opinion. Well, in the South, they're a little stupid.
Wow.
Like I said, New York, all right? Come on.
Well, as the Southerner on the call, we also know how to whip an ass. I'm just going to say that. Okay.
Hey, Sam, I understand you were nominated for Best Newcomer of the Year in the One Voice Awards USA.
Yes,
what year was that recently?
That was 2020. It was 2023. Yes, that's what it was. And thank you very much. Yes, it was quite an honor. I really was like, oh, wow, how did that happen? Oh, my God. And I was so thrilled about that. And it was actually for a commercial I did for a bank, for State Street Global. And it's kind of amazing because I came from a radio background myself, and at the same time, I had been doing some voiceover while I had been in radio, just locally and also regionally. But I never expected anything like to, get nominated for anything. I was really kind of floored. Like, what? How did that? What? Newcomer of the year? Me? And to be honest, I felt like I had imposter syndrome. I was like, no, that's not me. No.
Well, it's awesome to be recognized for that. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. But what I really love the most about the VO community is that it's a tribe. We're all a tribe, and we all support each other.
I've noticed ever since I got involved with the Leo Brawn and then meeting other VOs, my Facebook has been hitting with people who are VOs that are want to be friends with me. And I guess it's a lot of networking that's involved with that.
Yeah, it's like we all network, but we all become really, really tight friends. And that's what I really love about it. And we're also supportive of each other. And that's what's so wonderful about it. But yeah, the nomination was great. I mean, it's awesome when you're looking for work, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, hey, it's cool. But I was completely floored by that. Did it make my head blow up a little bit? Of course.
Did it make your prices go up?
Yes, that too. It's like, excuse me, do you know who I am? Don't you know who I am?
Newcomer of the year, Samantha.
Yeah, come on now.
Over here.
Whoa.
Instantly go update that LinkedIn profile.
I know.
Nominated.
Oh, instantly. I'm talking about like.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And those high school bullies. It's like, don't you know who I am right now? Excuse me. Yeah. But since I've been in the business now, I felt like I have finally had my calling because I had been in radio for so long, doing prod and also being a radio personality for so many years. I felt like, oh, yeah, this has been fun. But I felt like I'd been kicking myself for so long in the business. And I had been, going up and down the dial, as they say in WKRP in Cincinnati. And now you get into VO and you're like, oh, wow, I guess this is really where I belong.
When I started in radio, it was for a little AC station in Albany, and then you move to another one, and you think you're going up, and you get different time slots, and then you go to what my problem was, I went to a huge market. I went from Albany, New York, to Pittsburgh, and then Pittsburgh was like, who the hell are you? We don't need you.
Yeah, exactly. I was in Boston, and then I went all over New Hampshire. I went to Maine. I even was in Pennsylvania. I worked for AccuWeather.
Okay, yeah.
So I worked for the AccuWeather for a while, and then I went back to New England, and it was like, okay, yeah, I move around an awful lot in this business. Maybe I should try something else. And it was during COVID that I lost all the radio jobs I had.
That was something I learned about when I was going through broadcast school. One of my instructors even said, your job isn't going to last very long because pretty soon everybody can just tape what you say and just put it into a computer, and they'll just and that's what it's become now. Other than iHeart, I mean, there's some like real live stations out there, but for the most part, people don't even really listen to radio much anymore. Podcasts and audio dramas, things like that is what everybody wants. So
yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of audio,
I know. Speaking of,
I was just about to say. Now why don't we review our episode? But before we do that, let's get to the answer of last episode's trivia question, which was: Leo migrates into an OD victim in the bathroom of a gas station. The question is, what is the name of that gas station? Rob or Samantha, you guys remember? Terry?
No.
It's the Pumpin' Shack.
Pumpin' Shack.
The Pumpin' Shack.
The Pumpin' open.
Sounds like a combination deli porno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to a Facebook message we have from Tim Rafferty in San Diego, who writes, I listen to a lot of audio dramas, and I find Leo Brawn to be among the best out there. Are you guys planning on moving forward with another season? And Jason left a note to say 100%. If all goes to plan, there will be many seasons, and we're working on season 2 as I write this. It'll be bigger, better, and scarier, all while expanding on the foundation set in season 1. I knew there was going to be another season because he sent me a script of it.
You kind of need to know that information.
All right, well, let's get to our episode, shall we? Episode 10 opens with our narrator setting a scene in a desolate, rundown area. And we learn from narration that it's virtually empty, and then a hooded figure is brought into the scene.
In murky dew, a hooded figure approaches the grove and kneels before the exposed roots. The mysterious cloaked presence thrusts its fist into the hardened dirt, firmly grasping the roots and pulls at their stems, inching them out of the ground. It looks up at the hazy sky above as the hood falls away, revealing its hideous, demonic visage. The fiend closes its eyes, moans and sways back and forth in the dirt and rot. A sudden flash trembles across its horrifying brow, and the demon's eyes open again. It gasps and growls, and a half grin appears on its malformed face.
So, we get this image of a demon shoving his hands into the soil and pulling up the roots of these hideous black trees. Now, when I first heard this, because it's like a cold open, it starts like that, I wasn't really exactly sure what was happening. You guys, were you the same way, or did you know what was happening?
I
had no idea.
It's like the hell version of being hardwired for the internet.
Well, Jason left us a note regarding this matter. He says, in history of movies and television that deal with demonic possession, it's always told from the perspective of the human who's about to be possessed, not from the demon who is initiating the possession. He says, I wanted to show it from a different perspective, from hell's point of view. And in doing so, in old limbo, you can connect with a potential subject through the very ancient roots that are strewn about as a way of illustrating a way to connect with the weak and troubled back on Earth. This is why it was important for the location to take place in limbo, which I think was kind of unique, because when you think about, like I said, when we first listened to it, it's like, what the hell's going on here? I have no idea, but I see what he's just trying to set up a scene.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's grabbing into the divining rod to find the weak soul that he could transmit to. For old radio folks, you understand what I'm talking about. It's like, he's grabbing the guy wires, and he's like, all right, let's get this transmitted. Let's find the signal. That's awesome.
Well, in this next clip, we're introduced to the Banks family in Missouri.
Mommy?
Yes, honey? Why aren't you sleeping, baby? It's the middle of the night.
There is someone in my room.
What? Where's your father?
That's who is in my room. But someone is pretending to be him.
What do you mean, honey?
It looks like him, but he doesn't move like Daddy. He smiles all the time.
Come here, honey. You stay right here. I'll go to your room and check it out.
Please don't go, Mommy.
Theo, it will be okay. I promise. Just stay right here, and I'll be right back. Just gonna go check on Daddy.
Walking away, but does she come back? Sam, I love what you did with Beatrice. That the accent and the way you took this character. Did you, other than having a boyfriend from Florida, did you have to do anything special to prepare for a role like that?
I just was thinking about, believe it or not, being with my nephew. Because I was thinking of my nephew when he was very, very young, when I would have to babysit him. And I was also thinking of the fact that it was dark, and it was a very swampy, very scary area. And I actually would take myself into a very deep, dark place, like, okay, something weird is going on, and we don't know what it is, but I have to protect my kid. And I really, even though I don't have children, I am really protective of my nephew. So
there's a part in there where you're talking and you're like, there's this exasperation, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, she has kids.
The struggle is real.
Well, it's like, I wish I had kids, but I take care of my nephew, and I'm like, sometimes kids can that they can bug you from time to time, but I was like, oh, it's like, what do you want? Oh, what do you need right now?
So,
but it was just sort of, I had to kind of go to that place and go, okay, it's 2:00 in the morning. What do you need? This better be important.
Apparently it was, because we're not too sure what happened to Beatrice, but based on this next clip, we can assume things didn't go very well.
East of the Mississippi River in St. Charles County, in the township of Darden, an 8-year-old boy, Theo Banks, leaves his home at first light wearing only his pajamas and a backpack. His bare feet hurry down the doorstep at the front of his house, and then the young boy makes haste towards refuge behind a parked sedan in the front yard. He couldn't remember how he obtained the information, but being an observant child, he knew the nearest police station was in Cottleville, and that Cottleville was east of Camino Trail, the street in which he lives. His dad had always said if he ever needed to get help, if his parents weren't able to, call Officer Turtletaub in Cottleville. Unfortunately, Theo couldn't make a phone call right now. The phone line wasn't dead, but he was frightened by the voices on the other end of the line.
Yeah. For a kid to get up in the middle of the night and run out of the house, you can only imagine something bad has happened. And Jason leaves this note. He says, this shows the level of desperation Theo is currently in. He's the only one able to get help, and he does what he must. Incidentally, Theo Banks was played by his son, Logan.
Like, speaking of how Logan plays this character very quietly, which makes it that much more creepy, because he's not panicking. Like, he clearly knows this is not his dad, right? He knows there's something going on, and there's this creep guy who looks like his dad, but is not his dad. But he's not freaking out. And that just be like, oh, that's unsettling.
Yeah, and it kind of, it's not like he's hyper or upset. I think he's so scared that it keeps him calm. And I shouldn't say calm, but yeah, like you were saying, he's just quiet about it.
Yeah, he's very subdued about it.
So this little...
Almost like to not, bring the eyes of whatever is, wrong upon him. Like, I'm going to tell you about this thing. Like, don't,
like a whisper.
Don't turn around. Don't turn around. Don't look. Stop turning around. But there's a thing, and he's over here. You know what I mean? One of those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So this little kid runs out of his house in the middle of the night, and using his grandfather's compass, he makes his way to the neighboring town to find a police officer by name.
Can you tell me what happened, son?
Someone is pretending to be my dad.
As Theo explains the strange circumstances that took place the night before, Officer Turtletaub takes note of the boy's condition.
Where'd you get those scratches?
I fell on the way here, down a hill.
And that mark on your sleeve there? How'd that happen? Can you tell me how you got that mark on your sleeve, Theo?
I tried to peek under my door to see if Mommy was okay, but I placed my hand in.
Was it something wet?
Yes, sir. I think it was blood.
Rob, man, great job. It's got to be difficult to give a German guy a Southern accent.
Not when you don't know he was German.
That's what happens when you give a German dude etouffee for the first time.
His whole life changed.
But I got to agree with Jason, just the way you come across. It's very calm, the demeanor that you have. And it seems calming for the kid as well, especially in that situation.
Mm-hmm. And that's where my mind went, when I'm reading it. Again, as a father, my kids are grown now, but I know from having to deal with them when something's bothered them and they maybe are a little embarrassed by it and don't want to tell you what's wrong or you can't get frustrated or freaked out by it. You got to just be like, hey, you got to create that safe space. You got to say, whatever you need, I'm not going to be mad at you. You can tell me whatever's going on, then we'll move forward from that. So that's kind of where my mind went in the dialogue.
Well, I'll tell you, once Officer Turtletop gets Theo's full story, police cars race across town to the Banks home to investigate what they believe to be a father who may have harmed his young Theo's mother.
This is the police. Mr. Banks?
The front door abruptly swings open wide. Officer Turtledove backs away from the entrance, his service weapon drawn. Deputy McGuire also has his revolver aimed at Hugh Banks, who is wide-eyed and panic-stricken.
Holy Mary, Mother of God!
Hugh Banks is pale, shaking, and completely covered in blood. He looks skyward and shrieks a blood-curdling scream.
Right here, it was at this very point that I realized, oh, now I know what that demon was doing. Because there's that part where the demon grabs the roots and he kind of looks up and screams, and then here's Mr. Banks doing the same thing, and that's when it all clicked for me.
I told you, it's the hardwire.
Yeah.
That's what it literally is. It's the hell hardwire. Yep. A podcast coming soon.
Well, back in hell, Leo's still dealing with that awful news that Willie delivered regarding Leo's wife and son.
Afterwards, he finishes off a glass of whiskey and stares at his own reflection. He grimaces and begins to tremble, gnashing his teeth. Leo erupts into an uncontrollable rage and launches his fist towards his reflection, shattering the mirror. Someone raps on Leo's door. He opens it to find Jillian on the other side.
I got your message. What happened to your hand? It's bleeding.
Mirror got in the way. What happened to yours?
I ordered scrambled eggs, not sunny side up.
Understood.
You have the...
Yeah, 1 sec.
So let's talk about imagery in this scene right here for 1 second. So, Leo looks at himself in the mirror, and he punches the mirror. It shatters. His door she knocks immediately on the door. And who is on the other side of the door but the female version of...
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Mirror,
yeah.
That was well done. I don't know if Jason intended to do it, but it worked out that way.
Well, what does Jim call him? The psychotic genius, the demented genius who shouldn't have kids?
Demented, I think it is.
Yeah.
Well, back at the URA, Leo and the rest of the hunters learn about this Banks case. And Captain Mangut, she's given a rundown of the case.
We have a Stage 4 possession occurring east of the Mississippi River in St. Charles County, Missouri, located in the Dardenne Township. The subject is Hugh Banks, 37, husband of Beatrice Banks, 29, and father of Theo Banks, who is 8 years of age.
Where's the boy now?
In the custody of the Cottleville Police Department, safe and sound for the time being.
Leo begins heading to the briefing room to obtain his briefcase.
Leo, not so fast. Come with me.
A large garage door slowly raises, ultimately revealing a blacked-out military model Humvee.
You wanted to know how we capture actual demons causing all this fuss? Today, you'll be Tracker, not Hunter. And I'll be joining you.
Demon Tracker? So...
I can see the wheels turning in that big brain of yours already, but hold your questions. We have to get moving. I'll explain on the way.
Now, I'm guessing Captain Mangett was like, look, you just found out your wife and son are dead. You're not in the right frame of mind. I'm not sending you out. Because he was ready to roll. He was going to pick up that briefcase, and he was about to jump on a slab. But, yeah, she's like, no, you're not going out there.
This is a brilliant move by her. Absolutely brilliant move by her. And to kind of frame it as like, oh, we're just not going to send you. We got this other thing that you need to learn how to do too.
We want you to experience the full efforts of what's going on here. So, that way you can speak to it better and perform better. It's like management 101,
Well played.
Captain Mangett, I'm sorry, not Captain Mangett. Jason, he left a note regarding this saying, Captain Mangett wanted to keep an eye on Leo. But it also gives the listeners a first glimpse of the other side of demon hunting, the tracking of the physical demon that's actually back in hell. Which I was thinking the same thing. As a listener, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, because we already see what the demon hunter is doing as far as with the briefcase and going out and trying to stop the possession, but we don't really know how that one demon ended up from doing what he was doing to being in a jail cell. And this kind of answers that question for us. Now, one thing I was, as this scene was going on, I laughed as Willie was trying to use his acting credit as a way of playing the part of a hostage negotiator.
Dispatch has gone through great lengths to set up a temporary cover for you both in most departmental databases in case anyone gets suspicious. You'll both be posing as police officers, with Miss Stryker having the added specialty of crisis negotiator.
Wait, hold on. Shouldn't I be the crisis negotiator? I mean, I am the trained actor here.
Miss Stryker will be posing as Lieutenant Becky Salt, who just so happens to actually be a crisis negotiator. So unless you want to wear a wig, a bra, and some high heels, we'll leave the acting for another day.
Talk about imagery, huh?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That was a lot of imagery right there.
I don't want to see that. But, it's the new poster.
Yes.
Don't say that. Jason will make it.
Yeah.
He will.
If this were set up Quantum Leap style, you'd have to do that.
I would. Yeah, he would absolutely have to do it. We gotta love Willie's just always just like, his ego is so big.
There's a minute something about like, acting coming. He's like, wait a minute, wait.
Hold on. I love it. When I read that in the script, I was like, I gotta ham this up for just for a second. I gotta be like, what? Hold on.
So as Captain Mangett is showing Leo the tracking side of demon hunting, we are introduced to another character, Gorm.
Hop in.
A behemoth of a man enters the driver's side of the Humvee. He's clearly a foot taller than Leo, with a broad and muscular frame, and adorned with a lion's mane of long and blonde hair. He hops into the driver's seat, starts the ignition. As the engine roars, he steps on the gas and they race out of the garage.
Who's the driver?
That's Gorm, of Nordic descent. A former pro wrestler from the Norwegian Wrestling Federation, who went by the name Grendel. He's also the best goddamn tracker we've ever had.
Hi, Gorm. I'm Leo. Nice to meet you.
Ah, he must like you. Usually he's not so chatty.
I got to talk to Melrose next and find out. There's a part in there where she's talking, and it almost sounds like she's in a vehicle that's bouncing up and down because her voice sort of gives that little vibration. I'm like, how did you do that? Did you, like, punch your chest? I'm not sure really what you did. But, hey, let me ask you this. The wrestler named Grendel. You all remember the name Grendel?
Yeah, from Beowulf.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The antagonist in Beowulf.
A giant. Yep.
Along with what was it, the Mother and the Dragon? Were the other two antagonists? Yeah.
Yeah, great story. Well, as Captain Mangett and Gorm and Leo travel out of Dante, Leo learns how demons are tracked.
You want to know how?
You read my mind.
Think of the possession as a two-way call, a signal with two endpoints. the possessed subject being the destination and the demon as the source of the signal. As you can imagine, it would have to be a pretty strong signal to travel through time and space, not to mention parallel universes in multiple states of existence. And being such an intense signal, it is equally wide-ranging and therefore bouncing off material and immaterial. Think spiritual. Obstacles which provide us with enough geographical and topographical information to pinpoint a location.
So, it's like GPS.
Actually, think sonar. You know how that works?
Well, if being a fan of the Hunt for Red October counts, then yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay, so...
Yeah. Shut down. We were talking, you and I, Terry, in the last episode, trying to figure out what era that Leo came from. Now, Hunt for Red October, do you know what year that came out?
I don't know what year that came out, but he'd have to be talking about the book.
No, 1990 was the movie.
Oh my God, it's been that long.
It's been a while, yeah. Oh. So we know Leo's been around at least to 90 to be able to reference that. Yeah. So we're getting a little closer to knowing what's going on with him.
We gotta know though. It's so funny how she just dismisses him.
Yeah, whatever, you weirdo.
He's so basic.
Well, it's almost like I just gave you this scientific, technical explanation, and you tried to distill it down into a movie. Yeah.
That's
so basic.
Right. But also, I mean, it could tie into like what is her timeline? What is she from? Because maybe she doesn't know what Hunt for Red October is. Maybe she's
That's
like,
a good point.
Yeah, whatever, and then just keeps going because she didn't get the reference. So
when I sit and I put myself in Leo's shoes, I try to imagine a guy who's just tough, hardworking, but not very educated. He's smart. He's street smart, but he's not like book smart or anything like that.
Mm. No, he joined the force when he was 18.
Yeah, with the help of his cousin, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
So we learn that demons don't leave hell. They actually possess humans by emitting a signal across time and space, which is kind of cool. It's almost Star Trek-ish. Thank you, Jason. He didn't leave a note for this, so I don't know what more to say.
Get him on the line right now. Like, what are you doing?
Dial him in.
Well, back in Dante, Jillian, she's still looking for Sebastian. He went missing when he was looking into Leo's death details. Now, thinking that she's going to be meeting Sebastian at Jumpin' Jehoshaphat's, she meets up with this weirdo.
Where is he?
Miss Burkett, you came. I apologize for being so curt yesterday. I neglected to give you my name. I'm Howard.
You said I'd be meeting Sebastian here.
Not here. I'm pretty sure I've been followed all morning.
Followed? Okay, Howard. You see that napkin? Drop it on the floor, under the table, and then pick it up.
He looks around the coffee shop and then proceeds to push the napkin off the edge of the seat until it falls on the floor. Howard takes in a deep breath and then leans down to pick up the napkin, and to his trepidation comes face to face with the working end of a 9mm handgun.
So, we understand each other?
Where'd you get a gun?
Demon hunter friend of mine.
Yeah, so now I understand why she was at Leo's that morning. Like I said, it took me 4 times to figure it out. So thank God you're listening to the Devil's Den, because now you know, too. What gets me about this also is Howard, he's curious about a gun, and I'm guessing perhaps guns aren't allowed in hell? No?
I would imagine. Well, what purpose would they serve if everyone's already there?
I asked Jason before he took off, and Jason had this to say. At this point, there are no laws in hell, so there isn't a mandate that says you can't carry. However, by and large, normal weapons would cause no real harm and certainly not death. So there's really no need for guns. So thank you, Jason.
Like you're not robbing people. No one has any money.
Right.
Everybody's already dead. What purpose does it serve?
So, what gets me about Jason's reply, see, I'm always looking for little clues. He says, at this point.
Uh-huh. He's a writer. He said it like on purpose.
And hey, I got to commend Rob Lloyd for his portrayal of Howard. Right? The character's meant to be this sleazy little scumbag, and Rob is by no means a sleazy little scumbag. The dude is cool as hell. But, man, he sure makes you believe this character is a sleazy scumbag, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Just listen to him. We have Jason has these pictures of all the different characters and what they could look like, and, man, Howard looks like what Rob sounds like, doesn't he?
He absolutely, the artwork absolutely looks exactly like you would imagine him to sound like. And he like, I think Jason does a lot of these things on purpose. He pairs the people with how their sounds, and like how Tabitha sounds. How Tabitha is so even keeled, and you can't even really, unless she wants you to, you can't even tell what emotion it is at the time. And then Howard is just so sleazy, and he's like kind of just up and down with his all over the place in the scale, and she's just like, Howard, calm down.
And Jim as a scumbag Maury, perfect scumbag Maury. I
mean, the story writes itself.
Well, Jillian takes Howard at gunpoint to his AMC Gremlin. I love this clip because the Gremlin was such a weird little car back in the day, but this weirdo loves his Gremlin. Anyway, she's forcing him to take her to Sebastian when she realizes that they're, in fact, being followed.
Can this thing go any faster? From what I can tell, there aren't any speed limits.
Although they were much maligned, the AMC Gremlin is considered a classic in my book, and therefore must be handled with care.
How much will it depreciate in value with a couple of bullet holes in it? Speed up.
Unbeknownst to Jillian and Howard, a dark maroon 1987 Oldsmobile 442 pulls in behind them.
I'll give you this. You weren't lying about being followed.
Oh, shit.
Without warning, the Oldsmobile accelerates, swerving into the opposite lane, and pulls alongside the Gremlin. Then the car rams into the Gremlin's driver's side door. Jillian braces herself for impact as the car careens into a newspaper stand. The vehicle is upended and the roof slams hard against the pavement, grinding metal as it slides to a stop, leaving Jillian unconscious in the aftermath.
So this whole Sebastian death details thing seems like a conspiracy, doesn't it? But now we have this Howard guy who makes the conspiracy seem even more weird, and then we have people chasing and trying to kill Howard, and it's like, what the hell is going on? Jim's right about Jason. That's all I'm going to say. He's correct. The guy's freaking demented.
Yeah, I can't place at this point in time, you can't place all the pieces of the puzzle together because it was coming off like Howard was the bad guy, right? That got Sebastian, and you have no idea why. But then you get these people who are after him now, and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I mean, because that's what I thought too. Is like when the whole car thing, prior to the car rolling over, I was like, is this some sort of rope-a-dope thing where Howard is like tricked Jillian into, and he's going to actually, be like the like you said, like the main bad guy or something like that. It was just like, okay, all right, something else is going on.
All I keep thinking about is the AMC Gremlin is like Pacer Wagon. That's all I keep thinking about.
Perfect car for Howard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, back on Earth in Missouri, Officer Turtletaub is tied up in Hugh Banks' attic, and he notices Beatrice Banks laying on the floor of the attic when suddenly...
In limbo, a cloaked demon casting a hold over Hugh Banks instantly jerks his head as if something has caught his immediate attention. In the attic of the Banks residence, Hugh Banks mimics the demon's movements, allowing the evil spirit to see through Hugh's eyes.
I hear something.
The possessed man walks over to the large floor-to-ceiling attic window and peers out of it. From his vantage point, he can see about a half-mile stretch of St. Charles Street. Hugh walks out into the middle of St. Charles Street, facing the line of police cruisers that are bearing down on him. The demon in the foggy forest smiles balefully as it snaps one of the roots and watches a black, syrupy liquid seeping out of the wound. The street under the 3 impending police cruisers erupts into flames, and the pavement underneath them begins to liquefy, turning into boiling molten sludge.
So here we get confirmation of a demon controlling Hugh Banks like a puppet. But from this, I'm guessing that much of what happens in hell can be directed at the living on Earth, not just their target. For instance, the black liquid from the tree roots and then the molten black sludge on the roads. He's able to make things happen as he wants them to happen, whether you're the intended target or not.
I think it's like he's using that, he's using Mr. Banks in this situation as that conduit to he's like, all right, I'm doing this thing, and he's there, and so it's going to cause this destruction and everything that's happening. Again, just like I said, he's puppeteering him. He but not just his physical motion, his supernatural powers as well.
Yeah. And everything around him and whoever is involved around him as well. Well, back in hell, Gorm, our big wrestler Norwegian dude, he catches a scent and he runs off to find the demon. And at this point, Leo learns exactly where he is.
I'm surprised he can track anything with as dense as the fog is out here. Speaking of out here, where are we? What part of hell is this? It feels...
like you're in a dream?
Yes, exactly. I can't think of a better way to put it. It's like that feeling you get when you wake from a dream, but you can't figure out if you're truly awake or still sleeping.
Leo, welcome to Limbo.
Wait, the actual Limbo?
More accurately, formerly known as. No longer the borderland between heaven and hell like it used to be. Since the transformation, the replacement location of Limbo hasn't been disclosed, but this place, it's been all but abandoned, just like so many other parts around here. But I swear, when it's quiet enough, you can still hear the whispers of the condemned souls crying out, like leftovers. I try not to linger here any longer than I have to.
So we now find out that Limbo is no longer Limbo. It's what used to be Limbo. And since the mandate, things have kind of changed. Rob, let me ask you, when you said you were a fan of Leo Brawn before starting, did you kind of have a weird inclination that hell wasn't what it's supposed to be or where it's supposed to be when you were listening to this?
Yeah, I mean, it's just... Jason does such a great job of world building with his words and stuff like that, so it's like... it's not with that traditional, Dante's 7 levels and blah, blah, that type of thing. It's almost more modern, and like hell could be someplace that you've accidentally drove through on your way to vacation or something. You know
Jersey.
what I mean? So it's like, yeah. We love Jersey. Mike's sandwiches are great.
Best subs in the world,
right.
in Jersey.
So,
hands down.
But yeah, so I mean, but literally, it's just the way he's built these worlds that it's like, okay, I could see this, being a modern take on what hell is, as opposed to that, biblical fire and brimstone and pitchforks type of thing. And I love that. I love that it feels so real. Because you can be like, oh, I've been to a place that had a pumping shack or whatever. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, okay, this is kind of what it is. So, yeah.
I like the fact that, because like you were mentioning Dante's Circle and all that, we have this one vision of our own of what hell is. The fire and brimstone and the burning and everything. And then we have what Jason shows us. And what I like is, what we're going to hear in this next clip is we kind of get the before and the after. Yes, it used to be that way, but now it's this way, and here's why, according to this clip.
If I'm being intentionally vague here, Leo, it is only because I'm not ready to say the words. Most of us are still coping.
Look, I won't say I understand, because that just feels wrong to say, but I hear you. when did things, change?
At first there was just darkness like any other day, but then it was as if the early morning began to unfold right before our eyes. It was our first dawn. A few days later, there were a smattering of buildings as if they had just been erected with the snap of a finger. In all that time before, I never once saw Satan. Wasn't even sure he actually existed until the day of the announcement. It was similar to a town meeting. We all gathered around, and then Satan emerged and announced the assignment program. 72 hours later, I was captain of the ORA.
Oh, Jesus. Did you ever ask why?
Why? Why what?
No, why the transformation? The assignments? Why are demonic possessions suddenly illegal? It all just stops? Why?
Quite frankly, Mr. Brawn, I'm not afraid of much, but I'm scared to death to hear what the answer might be.
Well, because it could mean something even more sinister is coming down the road?
Because I'm afraid there was never any reason at all, that it was just decided on a whim to create Hell 2.0. And if that's the case, then it can all change again in an instant.
Which is something to think about. What I like what Jason does with this as Melrose is given that monologue, she talks about how everything started to change, and you hear this music just kind of crescendo and build it up. Man.
Yeah.
He is a master at doing stuff like that.
Master of this. And when Leo says the word stop, the music stops for 1 second, and it picks right back up. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
He's like a conductor of an orchestra, but he conducts the way this whole soundscape goes, and he's just masterful at it.
Well, even in the words that he chose to use, like as it's like it was like we saw our first morning, and it's like and you think about, Satan and the demons and the name Morning Star. That was the name of Satan, was the Morning Star, and it's like, oh, and we saw the first morning and didn't know if he was right, but then he appeared, and it's like, and then of course we've all had jobs that they've changed the rules on us on a whim, and it's like being able to take that and loop it into a construct of hell that like maybe we've been living in hell in these jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've been in hell, and they decided to change the rules, and here we are again. We're still in hell, but now it's different rules that we don't know what to keep up with. It's just.
That's how you motivate your employees.
Yeah, exactly.
Pizza
Friday.
The whole segment just grips you.
Yeah.
What I also think it does is, like, for the whole 9 up to 10 episodes, Jason's been painting a picture of hell and what it looks like, and I think what this does is it puts that lacquer over it and it seals it like this is what you're looking at, and because you gotta get the before and the after, and he sort of sets the whole thing. But what really intrigued me about this whole thing was Captain Manget's answer to Leo's question, that she was afraid that there was no reason for the mandate at all, that at any moment it could just go back to the way that it used to be. Well, regarding that, Jason had this to say. He said this was important to start casting doubt about the whole idea of this transformation. Is it real? Or is it just some lark that Satan was on? Since we don't know the motivation behind the transformation, we can't assume it's permanent. And if it's not, what does that mean for our beloved cast of characters? Which is totally Jason. So for a moment there, I thought it was him. I don't know.
You gotta do the face when you ask that question.
Nice. He makes a good point, and reading that, I'm saying to myself, okay, so are we just witnessing someone's dream? Is that all this really is? Is this going to end like 5 or 6 seasons from now with Leo waking up in a coma? I mean, it's kind of odd, right?
Not do that.
No, that's too Bob Newhart / Roseanne.
No.
Like Lost, they were dead all the time. Yeah. Spoiler alert! Sorry, Tim. Caught up with Lost.
I don't need a Y7 anymore. No. Well, hey, we'll get back to Jillian, and she's waking up in a wrecked car upside down, and she kicks her way out of the AMC gremlin, and she finds her way to Howard.
How curious are you now, Miss Burkett?
Howard shoves himself behind Jillian, restraining her arms. He presses the barrel of the gun against the base of Jillian's neck. In the commotion, she notices Howard's leg is bleeding.
Eyes forward.
You're bleeding.
I'll be fine.
You said you weren't cut out for this.
I said I'll be fine.
At the entrance of the alleyway, the engine of the Oldsmobile shuts off, and two large men dressed in black overcoats, black slacks, and black loafers exit the vehicle.
You sure about that?
As they move closer, Jillian realizes that they are not just dressed identically. Their faces are also exactly alike.
Ah, twins. Wonderful.
If you're a listener, rewind this 15 seconds and go back and listen. Because if you listen to the music behind, boom, 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 boom. But as we get closer to the twins coming, boom, 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 boom. It's like a heartbeat. That's like getting faster and faster and faster with what's going on. Again, demented mind at work there. But the twins reminds me of the Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yes.
Those are not. That's not the set of twins that came to my mind.
Hitmen that worked for the Juarez drug cartel with their crazy silver skull tip boots. That's immediately what came to my mind when she was like, twins.
I thought of the same thing, but not on Breaking Bad. I was thinking more of the Matrix with the two
That's what I was thinking
haired,
too.
white dread, twins that came out and attacked Neo. But
I actually think that Breaking Bad is a better
I was thinking Breaking Bad too.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm so glad that I got involved with Jason. I'm glad that I got involved with this story, because not only do I get to have fun being a character, the story itself, because I keep saying this, and every time we do one of these episodes, we don't know what's next. We read our script, we do our lines, and then we listen to it, and then we get the next script, and it's like we're having as much fun as a listener is, who's just going along episode by episode. I love this. I feel like I'm part of a soap opera.
Well, it's like, okay, a lot of times, a lot of actors, when they get a script and they have their role, it's like, bullshit, 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 my line. Bullshit, bullshit, my line. When I get a script, I read the whole script. Sound. I read, the placement. Yeah. I read everything, because I'm trying to put myself mentally. And then when we do table reads, it actually all falls into place, right? Because you only imagine it from your own perspective, but when you see other people's perspectives on just the script when it's read, I wait for these episodes to come out so that I can hear what they sound like with the soundscape and the music. I look forward to every episode that's released.
Well, in Missouri, Willie and Lori, they arrive and they find this chaotic scene with roads on fire, police cars are burning. But suddenly, they're alerted by the sound of a police car siren chirping. And it turns out that Theo is still in the patrol car, and he's making this noise to get their attention. So Willie and Lori, they rush over to the patrol car.
Hi there. Are you Theo Banks?
Yes, sir.
Are you okay, Theo?
Yes, but I'm scared.
I know. I can understand that. But we're here now. We won't let anything happen to you.
Sergeant Tipton, a word?
Stay put, Theo. I'll be right back.
Willie closes the car door. Before he reaches Lori, he sees it. Deputy McGuire's body is leaning against the patrol car.
It looks like he shot himself.
Or the demon forced his hand. Either way, I hope Theo didn't see it.
This is next level shit we're seeing here. I'm going in.
Wait, Lori, of the two of us, I have more experience.
I know that, Willie, but you are clearly much better with kids. And someone has to stay with him. If what we've just witnessed is just the beginning, I can't think of anyone that would do a better job of keeping him safe.
Okay. Well, let's at least weevil up so we can keep in touch with each other.
What the fuck?
Shit. Okay, no weevils.
That's it. Enough dicking around.
Get that son of a bitch.
Keep the boy safe.
There's a couple of things in this clip that I love. The one, when Willie first shows up, man, we get to find the true Willie, not the guy who's the actor who's just being over the top. He sees a little kid who's in trouble, and he wants to help him. And that's true Willie, not the actor. But I fucking love Laurie. She's like, hey, listen, you do kids better than I do kids. Just you do your thing.
Yes.
Again, I've said this over and over. Emily, you are so punk rock as Laurie, and right here she proves it. She is this punk rock girl who just wants to whoop some butt.
Yes, and she plays. I mean, what she says is true, but she still plays Willie like a fiddle here. Like she doesn't. Willie is good with the kids. You can tell immediately. Yeah, he's really good with kids. But she's like, I don't want that shit. I'm trying to go fight. So you're so great with the kid. You should stay with him. Why you kick his ass? And he's like, you're right. I am great with kids. But no, like you said, it is the honest truth. He is like that kind of person. He has that kind of heart, sincerely. Yeah. And even then, it's like that. It's not an actual ego thing. Even though she does play him and strokes his ego to get what she wants.
But Gary, he shows himself. Willie shows himself when, like, he was concerned that Theo didn't see this guy take his own life. You know, he's like, I just hope he didn't see that. And that shows who he really is, what he really cares about.
Yeah, it plays off one of the previous episodes when he discovers. It shows how he feels about kids. You know, how he feels about just people in general when he discovers the grave sites.
I thought it was really cool. Like when I heard your introduction to Theo, and it was very similar. Like I didn't hear it until the finished product, you know what I mean, until the episode was out. But it was very similar in the heart of like what I did with Turtletop, you know, as far as like I was like, oh shit, yeah, he cares about this kid too. And so it was very connective about like, okay, this kid should be protected. You know what I mean? It's like there's something special with this kid and what's going on, and he's trying to, you know, there are people that want to protect him, want to care for him, and I thought it was great. I was like, wow, yeah, I totally believe that, like, you know, Willie's a dad, and he's had that kind of like conversation before, you know.
And both of you came across that way. Like when I heard Rob, you doing the Turtle Top, and you're talking to Theo, I imagined him on one knee, like getting down to the kid's level to talk to him. And Terry, when I heard yours, it was like you were like leaning in the window of the car and kind of just trying to calm him down. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it came across as a caring, nurturing type of person. What else I found awesome about this is how Jason loves to tie things up. In the beginning, we hear the kid talk about how, you know, there were voices on the other end of the phone. But it wasn't until you guys tried to put the Weevils in that we understand why he didn't like trying to get on the phone and make a phone call, because there's all those voices. So we got to hear those voices. And again, that's Jason tying that knot to make everything perfect. Well, Laurie, she convinces Willie to stay with the boy, and she goes into the house to end things. And again, she's just a straight-up punk rock badass at this point. So we return back to Limbo. Captain Mangat, Leo, and Gorm, they arrive at their target. And Captain Mangat realizes that they're not dealing with an ordinary hellborn demon. This demon, as Laurie would say, is like next-level shit. And Captain Mangat, she warns Gorm, you know, to fall back. However, she soon realizes that Leo is no longer in the Humvee.
The captain exits the rear seat and leans into the front of the military vehicle. She disables the pulse emitter and inspects the new readout.
Oh my God. Gorm, we need to fall back. Leo?
Captain Mangat turns to face Leo, but the back of the Humvee is empty. To her dismay, Leo is walking towards the demon with his briefcase in hand.
Leo, get back to the Humvee. That's an order, Demon Hunter.
Leo ignores the order. He places his briefcase on the ground and steps a few feet closer to the demon.
Leo, that's a Class A demon.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
It means it's not a descendant. It's one of the first hierarchy. That is Belith himself, former king of hell.
Oh, a former king. And now what? You got a bit of a green thumb there, Bella?
Leo, god damn it! Be ready, Gorm.
Class A. I'm a Class A asshole myself. I'm the type who will tell you where to put it if I don't like where you got it. And it just so happens you caught me on a really bad day.
I got a pretty good story for that little quote right there. When Jason sent me this script, he pointed out this scene specifically to me. And he told me that he wrote it based on one of my Facebook intro statuses. You know how Facebook lets you put a little quote for who you are. And for the longest time, I had one that was in my yearbook quote. It was a Mark Twain quote. It is better to be thought a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all doubt. That's what I used to have. And then I was listening to an interview of Dolly Parton. She was like promoting one of her albums, and they were talking about how she manages her emotions like anger. And Dolly said, I'll tell you where to put it if I don't like where you got it. And I freaking fell in love with that because I was like, my kids tell me all the time, Dad, you have no filter. And I'm like, I don't need a filter. I see something, I say something. My wife says, does these jeans make my ass look fat? Yeah, they do. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I just say what it is, right? So when Jason seen that on my Facebook, he put that into the episode. I just thought that was kind of cool that he was doing that. So hat tip to Dolly Parton for a great quote.
I love Dolly Parton, man.
Dolly's the best.
Oh, that's a nice little tidbit.
I love it.
I love that. So, like, this is something that I noticed about the scene as well, besides the awesome quote. Leo and his briefcase have always been, like, the briefcase never really gives him what he needs, right?
Yeah.
Him and his briefcase are, like, lockstep in this moment right here. Right, so you see him, like, he's walking down, you see in the next scene how it goes down, but he's walking down the street, he's just got his briefcase. And then you just leave that scene, that part right there, and then it goes right into what happens. Yeah, we did a short story about Leo and his briefcase, where everybody seems to like get the weapon they want, and Leo winds up with like bubble gum and a slingshot or some weird shit. It's like, come on, man, what the hell? But in this one, he had an idea of what was going on, and we soon find out in this clip.
Well, guess what? I'm not just going to stand here and watch you make some poor young kid an orphan because your butt hurt over losing your VIP status.
Ah, yes, this Mr. Banks wastrel. Yes, slaughtered his betrothed. And no doubt he will do the same to his youngling once given a push. But haven't we all lost something? I lost my music. The young lad Theo will soon lose his parents. And then there is you. You've lost something too.
And not another word.
Don't listen to him, Leo. He personifies deception.
Yeah, so again, the news of the death of his wife and son is still really raw for him. And we find out in an upcoming clip why Captain Mangut was like, you're not going out there. But you could hear the fact that it's all about his son. The first thing he says is, you're not going to make some poor kid an orphan. He's carrying that into what he's doing. So Leo comes face to face with this Class A demon who was once the king of hell, and Leo isn't fazed one bit. And he's pissed because this young boy's affected by the possession, but he's even more pissed when the demon mentions Leo's loss.
You want to hear music? Let's see if I can sing you a tune.
Shit. He's going to get himself killed.
This is for Louise and Harry.
Yeah. So in case you didn't know, he pulls a freaking baseball bat out of the briefcase, and he beats the shit out of a Class A demon. He's beating him up with a baseball bat. Mangut freaks out. She can't believe what's happening. She even states Leo should not be able to do this. And I'm like, well, what the hell is Leo like a superhero? What's he doing? I mean, beating up Class A demons with baseball bats.
It's got to be something there.
And I can only imagine, I mean, otherwise it wouldn't be in the script, that it has something to do with his being gone for about 10 years. Yeah.
But yeah, like, so as I hinted to earlier, his briefcase gave him, for the first time ever, exactly what he needed.
Captain Mangat, she said that he takes a purple wand, and the briefcase gives him a big purple bat. But hey, it worked. I mean, he was able to beat the shit out of him.
Well, his name's not Leo Whitney. His name's Leo Brawn.
That's right.
Because he's brawny.
It's Leo Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
This is like, so Leo is he's Leo Brawn, big brawny guy, right? The fact that Gorm is a foot taller than Leo, you can imagine how massive this guy is. And Captain Mangat's like, don't go out there.
Gorm's driving the Humvee like this.
Have to drive with the sun
and the funny thing,
so they can see out the top.
And the funny thing is that Gorm is played by Mitch. Mitch is like they're like the nicest guy ever.
Well, Laurie makes her way up to the attic, and she finds Officer Turtletaub, and then she notices Beatrice Banks. When she's confronted by Hugh Banks, and he seems to be set free of the demon at first.
Towards Laurie, kisses, and springs forth, leaping across the attic floor. The possessed man tackles Laurie, sending them both flying through the attic window. Hugh Banks and Laurie Stryker crash land on the parked patrol cruiser underneath them as they are showered with jagged shards of glass.
So this is just like absolute chaos. And as you listen to it, it goes from Laurie, and then it goes to the demon in hell, then it goes back to Laurie, then the demon. It's just like back and forth. And Jason has this way of making, even though it's audio, you're not watching like this montage of things happening differently. It's like this audio montage. And he has like, and Jim, he described it perfect. It's like there's this droning music. And between each scene, there's like this boom that changes things. And it's just, he does this so perfectly. I kind of, in the clip, put them all together, like her 3 or 4 different clips and put them together of her confronting Hugh, going out the window, landing on the car. And in this next one, what we find out is after Leo beats the crap out of Belith, this big, giant, pale white horse shows up. And it's bigger than the Humvee that they're in, and it starts chasing them and knocking into them.
The pale horse closes in on the Humvee, lowering its head to prepare for another battering. The horse slams into the overturned Humvee with all its might, lifting it off the ground as it teeters in midair. As the Humvee arcs downwards back towards the ground, the captain witnesses in terror as the military vehicle bears down on her.
No!
Yeah. So I asked Jason about this, if he would write us a little something, and this is what Jason says. He says, this was the greatest challenge of this episode, and by far the most difficult he's had to edit so far. 2 major set pieces, big action taking place in parallel and switching back and forth. It became an enormous challenge. He says, I'm convinced I aged several years just trying to complete it. But I do think in the end it was worth it. It was big, loud, chaotic, and I think it largely worked. And I have to agree with Jason. It worked perfectly. Because not only, you weren't going from like one scene to another, you were going from one chaotic thing to another chaotic thing. Which, again, there's Jason tying the knot, because what the demon is doing in hell is having an effect on the Earthbound story of what's going on there as well.
And I like the way he would set that up. Again, just as the progression of story, it's like, okay, you see, you know, the demon do his little maneuver, and it's mimicked in what Hugh's doing. And then something happens to Hugh, and then we go back to find out that Leo is banging him in the head or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, and that changes. So it's like you were able to keep up with what's going on as we switch back and forth. It was great, again, great storytelling.
I was just going to say that. You took the words out of my mouth, Rob.
No, because, again, in the beginning, we noticed that Hugh Banks approaches Laurie, and he seems to be, like, clear-headed and everything's fine. Because back in hell, or in Limbo, Leo's beating the crap out of the actual demon with a baseball bat. So he lost that grip on him. He lost that connection until he gets it back when the horse shows up and knocks Leo off. Yeah. So, yeah, it's amazing. And actually, those two clips together aren't even the whole of those scenes. It's just a small, because again, this is 2 episodes that we were trying to cram. No, I'm sorry. It's just 1 episode, but it's like 2 different stories crammed into one. It was just crazy. Now, in a different episode of The Devil's Den, Jason once stated that his wife told him that if he ever wanted her to listen to it, there would have to be cliffhangers. And I guess he really wanted to keep his wife satisfied, because once again, we get this wild cliffhanger with Captain Mingot screaming, "No!" And then boom, and then we go to credits. And it's like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So I asked Jason about his cliffhangers, and he said this. Yep. He said,
end quote.
He said, I personally love cliffhangers anyway. I love writing an enticing cold opening, and I love ending an episode that keeps the listener wanting more. The key is to also give the listener that feeling that each episode stands on its own, even though there will be a connective tissue between each episode. And, of course, his demented mind has to go to connective tissue. So,
of course. This is a connective tissue.
Well, hey, before we close out this episode, I'd like to give our next trivia question. Jason, he often provides cameo voices in his episodes. So the question for this is, which character did Jason voice in episode 10? And the answer to this on our next episode. And don't forget to join us for our next episode of The Devil's Den as we review Leo Brawn episodes 11 and 12, Mr. Nice Guy parts 1 and 2. As we're joined by Eric Carlino, Stephanie Johnson, and Grace Newton. And don't miss it. Hey, thank you very much. Goodbye, Brawniacs.
The characters and events depicted in this podcast are fictional. Any similarity to any actual persons, living or dead, or to actual events, firms, places, and institutions, or other entities is coincidental and unintentional. This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Its unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability and criminal prosecution. Country of first publication, the United States of America. Leo Brawn, copyright 2024, Shoestring TV. Leo Brawn and all related characters are trademark and copyright of Shoestring TV. All rights reserved.